Howdy, y'all. My name is Cody Kinsey. This is Farmer Michael, and today we're going to be teaching you how to water your APs and make them bloom into beautiful WAPs. Michael, thank you for joining us today.
Yes, of course, partner.
So we are fully live, if you couldn't tell from the chat on the side, and very excited to talk to you guys today. We're here to answer questions from the YouTube channel and also answer some of your questions live. Provided that we can, because we've gotten some ones that are impossible to answer before.
Yes,
I also want to welcome our newest community moderator, Zam. You might remember Zam from almost all of our live streams.
Indeed.
And he is wonderful and great, and we want to have him be more involved in our community. So just before the stream, we decided to promote him to community moderator. So don't offend him.
Don't offend him, or he has the power to mute you.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
But yes, we like rewarding good behavior and our most loyal viewers, so y'all all have something to aspire to.
Yes, and hello to Acetep, Hybrid Shadow, and no, it's not a premiere, it's fully live today.
Yeah.
And then Technical. So let's go to one of our first questions. And yeah, we can get started answering some of the comments that have been left on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, so the first question was for me, basically from the pfSense video about basically different clients or computers you could use. And to answer this guy's question, he's asking about a specific thin client, but what I've always said is any of the thin clients will work, right? The reason I really like thin clients is because they are relatively inexpensive for the amount of like CPU horsepower you get. So they're really cheap to get on eBay and places like that.
Yeah. I know nothing about this. I let Michael set it up, and pretty much my only role is to try to go to various websites and yell at Michael when it doesn't work. So we learned a lot about how pfSense works just by figuring out what kind of restrictions you can reasonably put on a network before it starts making someone very mad when they try to use a program, service, or otherwise resolve a website.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
You want to go to the next question then?
Sure.
Okay. Can the Yeelight Python control basically any light, or is it just for the Yeelight light bulbs? It is.
So when we're talking about IoT hacking, oh, by the way, yes, Sam, we can talk about SolarWinds today. When we talk about IoT hacking, we're usually talking about being able to manipulate a certain protocol that is not that hard to figure out. Now, a lot of these devices do not authenticate their communications. So that means that anybody on the network can send them, turn on as a message, and the light will just respond by turning on. It's not going to question who that is, and there's no way of it telling whether that's an authorized user telling it to do something. So a lot of these things like the Yeelights, once we figure out how to speak the language of the Yeelights or figure out their API, it's quite simple to be able to manipulate them. And sometimes these are actually based on like an underlying open source program that a lot of different manufacturers are using. So you can find that sometimes one type of language will work for a bunch of different IoT devices of different brands. Now that being said, it's not super common. So I would say that in general, you're going to find that if there's a program that's designed just for manipulating Yeelights, it's probably not going to work against other types of lights, unless, again, they're based on some underlying thing that neither manufacturer has bothered to change.
Yeah, well, the important thing, I think, on those sorts of live streams we do is the concept of a lot of these IoT products have APIs, which can be manipulated or taken advantage of in ways that people would not expect. While it may be intuitive from a designer's point of view, like, hey, I want people to be able to make apps to use my light bulbs and stuff, the end user may not be expecting that someone can just join their network and completely control everything.
Yeah, that's true. And there's also some like open source projects like Octopi that then are connected to really expensive equipment, and sometimes they don't have their credentials changed. So there's some stuff out there for manipulating an IoT device that's connected to something that's much more expensive. And those are actually, I find to be really interesting directions to take like IoT hacking, because, a little Raspberry Pi isn't much, but if it's connected to a $5,000 printer, it could be more interesting.
Yeah. Onward and upward, or do you want to switch to the comment?
The only questions so far have been whether we can talk about SolarWinds or if this is a premiere. So,
you talk about SolarWinds while I do hidden stuff.
Okay, and also hello to Lewis from the UK, and if it's your birthday, then happy birthday. If not, then here's a shout out anyway. But yeah, so SolarWinds is a really interesting attack because most people, if they don't know about the way that these attacks work, think about an attack like this. Oh no, I'm a CEO executive at a special company and I opened an email and now my whole company got ransomwared or their data stolen. Like
Right.
this happens. Like spear phishing is a thing, but nowadays there's attacks that are called like watering hole attacks, or alternatively, there's attacks like supply chain attacks that can be much more effective. Now, there's been a number of different campaigns by the Chinese government that use watering hole attacks, where they'll figure out where a bunch of people who work at a really important company all go, like maybe on their off time, exploit something at that company, which might be really easy, and then those infected employees go back and infect the company that was the real target. Now, this is an interesting case because it's a supply chain attack. So they figured out what services do the targets that I want to go after use. And then they took a look at all the different ways they could attack and decided on infecting an update so that all these people who had automatic updates turned on would basically be infected by this product that they were purchasing that was supposed to keep them safe. So that's how,
Yeah.
in general, like a supply chain attack works. And it's really insidious because it's unless you have another layer of like detection, for example, like Varonis does, then it's really difficult to know if the traffic that's going out to a monitoring server or something that is part of a third-party product that you trust is legitimate, or if it's something that is being manipulated to hide data transfer or like a connection back to a command and control server. So that's what happened. And what was interesting was, and I have a personal theory about this. FireEye got compromised, and they were paranoid. So they had controls in place that allowed them to detect the intrusion and be able to be like, all right, this is part of a larger campaign. I think that they went after FireEye because they wanted to know if they'd been caught. So by monitoring the security company that watches these agencies, they can know if there's an ongoing investigation into their activities and basically know when it's time to pull the plug. So, again, just a theory, but the FireEye thing is what actually got them discovered, because this attack could have gone on for substantially longer if, they hadn't gone after a security company that had like advanced detection capabilities and the ability to respond to a nation state actor. Because otherwise, it's very hard for a private company to deal with a nation state actor because they just have almost unlimited resources compared to a private company.
Yeah. Okay. Happy birthday, Lewis Cleveland from the UK. Also, any advice on connecting Wi-Fi on a VM? I find that it doesn't work for me when I run it in Kali. Didn't help putting external Wi-Fi adapter.
It's a nightmare. So the number one reason I don't recommend that people use a virtual machine when they're hacking with Kali Linux is if they're doing Wi-Fi stuff. It creates tons of problems. If you can run it as a separate partition on your hard drive, I would recommend trying to do that. You'll find that things just work. There's settings you can go into that allow you to eventually get the wireless network adapter to be fixed. Like, it is annoying. You can switch into like bridge mode and then like try other stuff, but like fundamentally it's just very difficult to work with, especially an internal wireless network adapter if you're trying to do Wi-Fi hacking stuff in a virtual machine. It's just annoying. Now, that being said, I found that some of the paid solutions actually work a little bit better. So, like what do I use? Like VirtualBox or VMware or whatever.
Parallels?
Parallels.
Yeah.
There we go. Yes, Parallels, which is not free for students and should be. Please tell me I said that. Actually managed to do a pretty slick job of this, but again, I don't like recommending paid products. But to be honest, like VirtualBox just kind of sucks for this. So I've had the most success by focusing on external wireless network adapters that are really, really super compatible with Kali Linux, and then just trying various modes of connecting to it through the virtual machine if I'm still having issues. This is kind of a like Google it problem because it depends on your specific hardware and what way you're connecting to the virtual machine.
And that's why I like recommending like a dual boot, or just have like an extra Raspberry Pi or something around if you're fooling around. With Kali in particular, or any of the like security OSs, it's just a lot easier when you have dedicated hardware for it.
Yeah, and thank you, Zam, for trying to help us troubleshoot on that, because like this is truly like one thing I haven't found a great solution for. It's the primary reason I recommend like a Raspberry Pi, because if you can just SSH into this and get started, like that's great. Alternatively, you could have a D1 Mini and connect that, and unless so what I find is I have a MacBook Pro. I cannot really use that to do anything other than sniffing packets.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to hack into a Wi-Fi network, that's actually not a problem. I use a D1 Mini to do the scanning. I used Space Hoon's deauthor program to scan, identify the target, send deauth packets, and then on my computer I can just sniff and I can get the handshake. So it allows me to get around some of these problems where I would normally have to spin up a virtual machine and like fight with like a wireless network adapter like in VirtualBox. Like I hate that stuff. So I can do pretty much everything, including running AirCrack NG on this computer using like a $3 microcontroller to kind of like bridge the gap. So that might also be a suggestion if you're looking to do kind of basic like Wi-Fi hacking stuff. I've managed to get around needing to use a virtual machine just using the Wi-Fi deauthor, because the project, especially the V3 Wi-Fi deauthor, is really advanced and can do a lot of stuff that you would normally need a Linux computer to even get started doing. Plus it's cross-platform, so that's really nice.
Okay, so I turned 30 today, and I've been following you guys for the past year or so and have recently started a Udemy course to learn ethical hacking. Am I too old to start?
That's funny. No, because I started learning programming at like 29, like 28, 29. So like, no, absolutely not. Like I got started with a lot of other stuff before I got into hacking. I was doing security work. I was doing work at startups.
You're
I was
revealing your
doing
age.
photography. And before I got into hacking, I had several different careers. So
Yeah.
part of the reason why I'm a well-rounded hacker is I have tons of experience like in just the industry, in various industries, everything from like logistics to like fashion to art to all these other things that people who just go into computer science and stay like didn't really have. So I find that understanding the way the real world works has given me a substantial advantage against people who are working with theoreticals and don't really understand what sticks in the real world. So they'll just try a bunch of stuff that they were taught in school, and coming from a point of experience, I tend to know what stuff is going to work before I try and focus my efforts there. And that's just the virtue of having other life experience. It's really helpful.
And something I would recommend you check out that might be inspirational or motivating to you is our video on Hack 5 about coming from various careers and getting into hacking and doing like mid-career changes. Do you remember the exact title of that video? If you go to the Hack 5 channel and look under playlist, you'll see a Redia playlist.
Yeah, it's like switching into cybersecurity.
Yeah, switching into cybersecurity.
Yeah, so we interviewed tons of people at the DEF CON conference about where they'd come from before cybersecurity, and we had like makeup artists, teachers, a vet, like just lots and lots of people who had wacky like outside experience that really made them better hackers, and they explained like how this had actually improved what they do and how it made them a better hacker by having something from, being a vet or something else that taught them a life lesson that other people might not know. So it's never too late to learn this stuff. I know people who are very intelligent, very sharp people with other careers who just decide this stuff is cool and get into it in their 40s or 50s. And, they might not go on to be like the best computer scientists in the world, but they do know enough about hacking and just life in general that they're very, very effective in whatever they decide to do.
And also, as far as Udemy, check out hack.gay. It's our website.
Yes. If you would like to see our other content, you can check out hack.gay. We also sell these, the deauthors, both the advanced or the Andromeda deauthor that allows you to have a directional antenna, and just the D1 Mini that's pre-flashed with these. If you look at the store on hack.gay. So if you're looking for one of those, you can just buy one of these D1 Minis like on AliExpress for $3 and then wait for several months and then just like, get them in the mail. Or if you want to support Space Hoon and us, then you can also grab these from the store.
And Cody, I'm sorry, but you stirred up their curiosity. How old are you? Cody, you don't look a day over 25.
That's so great. Let's go with that. Michael?
I'm 25.
Hey, that's great. How
Who knows what the
wonderful.
truth is?
Okay, yeah. A lady never tells. But that's a great question. Too bad we're not going to
how to make your own Bash Bunny?
Hack5 would hate it if we answered that question. There's ways of doing it with like a Raspberry Pi Zero.
Yeah, I think
I've seen some interesting tools that, like, for example, Sammy Kankar has done with that.
Yeah.
That like kind of mimic Bash Bunny functionality, but.
Yeah, there was some tool that used the Pi Zero basically as a Bash Bunny. I don't remember the exact name, but I'm sure if you like Googled around Raspberry Pi and Bash Bunny or like those sorts of things, you'll find it.
Oh, I got some news from the internet. By the way, it seems like Kevin from PCG SoC is an incredibly experienced and talented InfoSec professional. I heard it from the internet, so it must be true.
Okay. Hey, I'm sure there's some kind of reference there going on that I just
I'm pretty
I
sure
don't
it's a
know.
reference to our guest Casey.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he's just going to play that clip to a future employer.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a good question. Were there any videos removed
Yeah, that's what
from
I was just looking
YouTube
at.
by the security forward channel?
The security forward channel has not had any videos removed. Other channels we participated on, such as Nullbyte, have had videos removed. I don't think any of the videos we've put up on Hack 5 have been removed, or any on the Redia channel.
Yeah, so Michael and I are
On, like, 4 different
are
channels.
together a team called Redia. So we're a production team that does like a bunch of different stuff. We started out doing the Nullbyte channel, then we started also doing episodes for Hack 5. Now we do the show for Varonis, and I work there. So like we do all kinds of stuff. And Nullbyte was our first channel, and man, they took down a lot of videos. They gave us strikes, like they threatened to ban
Yeah.
our channel, and it was only through a bunch of people like complaining and YouTube finally hearing about it on YouTube. I'm sorry, on Twitter, that they actually stopped doing that. But we had to totally
Yeah.
fundamentally change the way that we produce videos. You can't just like teach people how to do something that can be abused and pick like the most effective, spiciest title possible anymore. If you do that, then some normal person at YouTube is going to see it
Well-
and just be like, that seems bad. And
Yeah.
just like give you a strike that then has like devastating consequences for us.
And that's
So-
one of the more frustrating things for me too is, you know, it would feel sometimes we had to go through the same thing over and over because it would just be, you know, lower level like moderators basically seeing it, and then it would have to get escalated with. But yeah, it also gets frustrating in the comments when people are like, "Oh, why don't you do this thing? Why don't you show me how to hack credit card numbers or like do phishing pages?" And I'm like, this is YouTube. We're not here to teach you how to do illegal things. We're teaching you how to secure yourself.
A lot of people that find the Nullbyte channel have a problem with the ethical part of ethical
Yeah.
hacking.
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
excited about the hacking, but they're not so excited about the ethical part. So they get like really mad when we won't do episodes on things that are just like, how do I stalk my ex-girlfriend so that I can find her home and know when she's alone? I'm like, no, like that doesn't seem like a good topic, and we're not going to do it. And people are just like, bah! Like so. We are constantly pushed to do more and more like active exploit stuff against like sketchier and sketchier targets, and YouTube is constantly pushing back by like banning stuff that is not bad at all, that makes us very paranoid about what we can do. So we enacted a strategy where we upload our stuff to a separate, like I think we do like Vimeo, just
for
in case
Nullbyte,
YouTube happens
yeah.
to take it down. So there's a lot of videos that we've uploaded on Vimeo that do not exist on YouTube because we feel like if we did, then you know they would be taken down. But we do upload a shorter version of it that has an explanation and a link to go and
Yeah.
watch the stuff that we think might get us banned. And then we have to like make a title like "How Hackers Do This" instead of "How You Break Into XYZ."
Yeah.
So we've had to do a lot of changes. So I mean, it's really not inconsequential. One of our viewers, Squall, is like I think he's like 13, and he is a French YouTuber who covers security stuff. And like I've watched him over the course. He's been very active in our comments, and I've watched him over the course of a year go from like kind of random stuff to like an actually like very well put together French language cybersecurity channel. And YouTube keeps just kicking him. Like
Yeah.
they'll ban his videos. Like people will get offended that he won't teach stuff that like will get him banned. So they'll like unleash bots against him that'll like mass downvote his videos so no one ever sees them. He's having a terrible time of this. So it kind of goes to show that it is really hard to make hacking content on YouTube. We've adapted as best we
Yeah.
can, but for young like beginners that are looking to make their own content, they constantly just get like knocked down by random
Yeah.
YouTube policies or people that get angry and abuse YouTube tools. Even though they're not doing anything wrong, they're not teaching anything forbidden.
Yeah.
They're trying to help other people learn how to get into hacking. So it's pretty crazy.
Okay, can you guys suggest career paths for people who like programming but also want to be involved with more cybersecurity? All roles I've encountered are purely programming, software development, or purely hacking, pen testing, and such.
So it's a very broad title, but security research is one of those things where you can pick a focus area and then kind of specialize in that. And then what you do with that information is up to you. You can speak at conferences. You can do red teaming because maybe you develop a tool or have an idea that is a twist on some other tool that lets you go above and beyond just using default stuff. Really, kind of what you're describing is like good red teaming, where instead of just using a bunch of tools somebody else wrote and then like submitting a report, you are like really doing something a little bit more special, assuming that your adversary isn't just some like script kiddie who's using other people's stuff and is actually writing some custom tools or some custom like modules in order to exploit something they find. Of course, this is also the kind of stuff that you learn with bug bounties and just practicing the ways that you can get into a website you're not supposed to or get elevated permissions. These are all kind of things that tie together the programming and the security and, you know, prevent you from like working on someone's like lame like mobile app that like just like does whatever.
Yeah.
Because I love programming, not so into like developing other people's boring projects, but if I know just enough to add to one of my own just like security research projects or answer my own curiosity with how much data I can scrape about something or if I can get into something, that is a really nice combination. And people like that, both for teaching, for like red teaming, or for just security research where maybe you're doing academic stuff and developing new tools to prove a theory about breaking something.
Yeah. Okay, so why don't we stream much on Nullbyte? In fact, we've only streamed on Nullbyte once.
Yeah, so Nullbyte's under new ownership, and we don't know what's going to happen with it. So we're in a holding pattern for a while. So we'll let you guys know when we know. But for now, I don't think we could probably ask, I guess. But like, you know, we're not. It's not approved. We just do it because we felt like it. So it literally, it's like weekend stuff for us. It's like because everything else is kind of like frozen until the new year.
Right.
So we'll probably have some announcements on Nullbyte over the new year. But for now, we don't totally know what's going to happen with that. So that's why we've been focusing on getting our studio up and running at our new location since we fled Los Angeles. And we're actually actively producing Hack 5 episodes now that are really cool and are actually kind of similar to the previous Nullbyte episodes. So if you want to see more Nullbyte episodes, you might instead just want to, you know, go to Hack 5 because we work with them too. And we're going to be releasing more episodes that are very similar. So
basically Nullbyte's not exactly interested in purchasing a live stream.
We'll see. We still have a lot of convincing to do. I mean, Nullbyte has always been an upstream battle. Like, nobody wanted that channel. Like, I had to convince them by doing it for free for like a couple months before they even wanted to purchase it. So it's always been like an uphill battle to get Nullbyte to do new stuff.
So what are some websites to learn hacking? Any forums?
I don't do forums, but I do really like things like Cybrary. Cybrary is pretty cool, and they have some great focused content. I haven't checked in on them for like 8 months though, so they might have gone crazy and started making things weird. But back at the time that I checked in last, like they were a pretty good resource. And of course, like Udemy, honestly, I still do find some good tutorials. But I'm kind of I like finding single projects, and that's where websites like Nullbyte, or I actually really like Random Nerd Tutorials. That's by Ruiz Sanchez, and I find there's tons of microcontroller projects that are easily adaptable to security on there. So, I mean, maybe not the exact answer you're looking for, but still a website I really like for learning like one-off projects that are really satisfying and teach me about how to use, for example, like electronics or microcontrollers for hacking.
Yes, we are live.
Yeah, we're live.
Not pre-recorded. How to restore your default file format and icons in original state? Maybe
Reformat.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so there's some guy, how can I brute force a site that is FTP, is open?
With a FTP brute forcer, I guess?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't know, like, if you're doing like red teaming stuff, you can just look on GitHub for like FTP brute forcing tools. If you're just like brute forcing some random website, then like...
Okay, so... here's one. I think I actually had this saved for later as well. But what's the best way to download source code of a website?
You just like right mouse click on it and it just says save website.
Inspect.
Yeah. No, not inspect. There's literally just save website, and it saves the entire website plus all the like images and stuff. So you can just open it offline. That's how I create lazy phishing pages for demonstrations. I just save the website, and then I just go in, I edit a little bit of the HTML, and then I just pop that sucker right back up.
Yeah, I was going to say, is there any kind of like automated tool that'll do that for the entire website? Because that makes a lot of sense for like a single page. But like, say, a news website or something like that maybe has a bunch of blog posts and stuff like that I want to save for whatever reason. Do you know of anything?
Oh, yeah. So, I'm gonna have to go to my browser just to double. Yes, we can switch to my screen if you want.
Which one's your screen? There you go.
All right, so let's say that I want to preserve my favorite website, MyDougal. Well, if I want to save this because I'm terrified that it's going to be taken down, of course I can just like archive it on the Wayback Machine, or I can also use Nimbus. So Nimbus Capture lets you capture the visible part of the page, a fragment, the selected area, selected and scroll, the entire page. It's really, really cool. So if I wanted to do like the entire page, then I can just select that and it'll like actually scroll through and create this big, I think it lets me save it as whatever I want, like a
What
no.
the heck? What did you just do?
Yeah.
You broke it.
No, I think it's like whatever. Yeah. But my Google is also like it's being blocked by a bunch of stuff, so it's not like loading properly. But anyway, you can use this to create like a giant PDF or a giant PNG or whatever you want of a website. So if you need to like preserve a website, that's a good way to do it. But this doesn't preserve the source code. So again, the best way to do it is just right mouse click, save page as, and like it just saves the entire website.
Yeah, okay. I imagine you could pretty easily like make a Python script or something that goes through and loads each page and saves it.
Yeah, probably.
Okay,
All right, away from my screen.
away from your screen. Shall we do another question then?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Yes. Okay, so this one's asking about the GPS on the Pi when you did the war driving. What
Oh.
kind of GPS do you use with your Pi?
Oh, there's a little. Okay, so one of the things I really like with the Raspberry Pi is you can get hats, which are just like pre-made like modules you can just like install directly on top of it. You can also use like a little just like what am I saying? You can also use a bare module that you just wire into it. I don't like doing that. What I was using for the particular project that I think was the subject of the question was a USB-based model. So those are kind of your three different options. The USB-based model is, you can Google it. They're really, really cheap. And for any application that might need to be waterproof, they're by far the best option. So like a USB-based GPS module for the Raspberry Pi is all you need to get started doing Kismet. And most of the versions that you see are also magnetic because they are typically going on top of a car roof or something like that.
Right.
So it gives you the ability to like stick it on like metal things as well, which is cool. So I would recommend just a USB-based GPS module.
Yeah. Also, you could look into the SparkFun GPS modules. They have some RTK ones if you want to get real fancy GPS stuff, which is basically like the centimeter level accuracy GPS.
Zam had a question, and my response is Je n'ai pas parlé français il y avait 10 années. So hopefully that lets you know how well I speak French.
Okay. Onward and upward. This is the question we just answered from Ace, so I guess we'll keep going. Is there a fix for the MIPS payload that you can import? And I was talking about the Routersploit video.
Oh, I have no idea. So most of the exploits that are in Routersploit I actually haven't used. I haven't gotten heavy into router exploitation other than just doing the overall scan and then trying out whatever module like sticks. I haven't dug into like what every single one of them means, but I have some friends who do that kind of research, and I try to stay up to date with which ones are the ones to feature. So can't really answer that question just because I haven't dug into those modules. But Routersploit is super cool, and if you haven't run it on your network, you should. There's no reason not to. If there's some vulnerability in your router or some other device on your network, it's definitely worth knowing. I went to an observatory on Mount Wilson one time, and was just running it on their open network, and I found that like all of their routers have like default creds. So hopefully they change that.
Yeah, hopefully they change that before this live stream. Okay, let's see. Going onward. I have a spare powerful router that I'm trying to find some cool watchdog type of stuff to do with. Can you guys help me with that? I think when they say watchdogs, they mean like the video
Hacking
game
stuff.
Yeah.
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 So sure. I mean, there's lots of stuff you could do. If you can basically turn a router into like an evil access point and have it do all sorts of confusing stuff with the right firmware. One thing that I've noticed though that I've been dying to play around with is there's now the phenomena where most modern smartphones, when they see a 5 gigahertz version of the same network, they will just lump it in and then force devices to connect to the 5 gigahertz network if at all possible. You can't manually select which version you're connecting to. So I've just been thinking that if you have a 5 gigahertz capable router and you just make it the same as a 2.4 gigahertz network, nobody will be able to connect to the real network. It will all go directly to your router
That's
just because of the
crazy.
way that phones behave lately, which gives you the ability to intercept, whatever. And if they look, it looks like they're connected to the one network that's there. It's very, very hard to detect and kind of sneaky, and I've been meaning to play with it. So an evil router would be kind of the perfect thing to do
Yeah,
that
and
with.
you wouldn't even really be able to tell based on signal strength because they propagate differently. Because I was trying to think like there you might be able to tell the difference like this 2.4 is like really weak but the 5 gigahertz is really strong. Why would that be? Maybe it's a fake network, but
Yeah, a lot of people are running into this problem when they're trying to set up like an IoT device, and then their phone will automatically connect to the 5 gigahertz network, and they can't connect to the right one to pass their credentials to this IoT device. But I found that it's also like a potential way of getting them in the middle position on whatever devices you want.
yeah. Okay.
some
What
great
email
questions.
company do you guys recommend for privacy, or is it possible to host your own?
I have. You got an opinion on that one? I use Proton Mail
Yeah.
sometimes in like a throwaway account, but nothing consistent.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry. Like I'm not. I don't use email for stuff that's like super important that way. I would
Yeah.
use Signal. Like
Yeah. Basically ditto. I do know there's like plugins for Gmail that do encryption, like GPG.
GPG.
plugins
I
and
find
stuff,
that
so.
I was using that like happily for a while, and then it just broke hard, and
yeah.
I had to do a bunch of weird updates and stuff to fix it, and then like it never quite fixed itself. So it is a pain to do consistently. Like it's just hard, even if you care about privacy, to consistently keep the stuff working when it just like will just like hard fail in the middle of you needing to use it, and it just takes like an hour to fix. It's irritating.
I'm just gonna keep plowing.
Oh wait, there's a question.
Okay.
Is there any way to use the built-in laptop Wi-Fi adapter inside a bootable drive of Kali, or do you need an adapter? No, you don't need an adapter, provided that wireless network adapter inside the computer is capable of packet injection and wireless monitor mode. Now, this MacBook Pro is not, so I can't. But for example, my ThinkPad like T3, whatever it is, has a compatible wireless network adapter, and if I were to just plug in, a drive and boot from it, I would be able to use that successfully, and there should be no issues. So no, if it is compatible, then you don't need a separate one. But if it's not compatible, then booting Kali Linux doesn't magically make it so.
Yeah. Okay. So please make some videos for Wi-Fi Fisher, how to install it and how to use it.
We could do that. Yeah. So we've covered that on Nullbyte, but we haven't covered it on Security Forward. Yeah, we could do Wi-Fi Fisher. It's another one of these like social engineering attacks where you're convincing someone that they need to type the Wi-Fi password in plain text, which is super funny. But I mean, also nowadays, like Stefan and I are working on like packing that into this. So
Yeah.
being able to do that whole attack from a computer
Well, that's what
with
that.
this plugged in
Yeah.
is cheaper, in my opinion, than needing a separate wireless network adapter. But
Yeah, that question was on that video with you and Stefan about the Andromeda D author.
oh, cool.
Okay. Next, I'm trying to scrape data using Twint for my academic research, but Twint required no API. Is that legal? So basically, scraping Twitter, is that legal?
Well, I mean, there's a difference between legal and against the terms of service. So
Yes.
a lot of these tools require you to log into your Twitter account and then use the Twitter API, and that sucks because like Twitter's like, what are you using this for? What do you plan? How do you plan on interacting with users? It asks you like tons of questions. You have to submit it. Some real person actually reads it, and then they get back to you with an API key. And then if you do anything they don't like, they ban your account. So like there's a lot of risks like using Twitter's API actually, and Twint allows you to scrape information without logging in. So the question is, first, no, it's not illegal. Second, like it is, in my opinion, better to do this logged out and not get your account banned. By like what Twint does is like change up the user agent and make it look like a bunch of different like devices are all checking out on Twitter, which I think is cool. So I think that Twint is like a better way of doing Twitter scraping without getting banned. Because even if you try to do it the right way, it's actually super difficult. It's no better, and it's more likely that your personal account will get taken down. And if you try to make like a burner account, Twitter's like even more suspicious of what you're doing. So
Yeah.
for me, like Twitter's made it so difficult to do this legitimately that yes, I think it's the best way to do it, and no, it's not illegal.
Yeah, we actually made that that Twitter account with the 1 second mail, and literally by the time we had finished that stream, it had already been banned.
Progress on Starlink's SSH port. Sorry, I keep forgetting about it. I keep forgetting about it. I'll get to it at some point. They keep updating it remotely too, so like they might have already closed it because their bug bounty program just went public. So if you're interested in attacking Starlink stuff, then yeah, you can do so legally through their bug bounty program and report the results.
Okay, here's another fun one. Why didn't they arrest you? I'm.
Which time?
So this is in reference to basically all the videos we've done on various platforms on YouTube.
Okay, so there's a lot of reasons. For one, it turns out that YouTube does not have the legal agency to arrest us. So, so that's one reason. Two is because nothing we've taught is illegal, nor is teaching about cybersecurity illegal. In fact, it is essential to make sure that we're not employing a bunch of like IT stupid people who like make really easy to exploit mistakes and end up destroying our economy by breaking the gears on which it depends.
Yeah.
So we see ourselves as people who are getting other people who need this information excited about kind of a dry topic sometimes. So it really lets us know that we're getting close to as spicy as we're allowed to when we get questions like this. So thank you. For letting us know. We're really making cybersecurity interesting if you think we should be arrested for teaching it.
Okay. Is Vega better than Burp Suite and Zap?
I don't have enough experience with web application pen testing to answer this. I like Burp, but I haven't used Vega enough.
Okay. Sad.
Wait. There's a good question.
Okay.
So, how many hours do you guys spend hacking or learning stuff like this? Like per week, I'm gonna guess?
Yeah, I would assume per week. You're the one that preps for most of these videos, so that's more of a you question.
Yeah, I spend probably between 4 to 8 hours per week looking up new stuff, doing security stuff, or on the phone with one of my friends, probably usually Stefan, talking about like creating cybersecurity tools or how they should work. So like I'm involved in research like a fair amount just because I've surrounded myself with nerds who like want to talk about that stuff. So it allows me to kind of like keep my head in the game most of the work week if I'm not creating content or planning for the next live stream.
For me, it's a little more off and on. Like it just depends. Like when I get in the mood and I'm interested in a topic, like maybe I'll read an article or see a new tool that I'm really interested in. Then I'll spend like 10, 20 hours on it and on like a weekend or something. But otherwise, I'm mostly doing the administrative stuff, the camera stuff around here. So I don't fool around with the hacking side as much on a daily basis.
Oh, good. Victor's here. Hey, Victor, what's up?
Okay, so back to the questions. Does it work if I try it on Android? I downloaded Routersploit through Userland and followed the tutorial. So basically, how do I run Linux hacking tools on my phone? That's the way I'm interpreting
It's so
this.
hard. Every time they update Android, it becomes harder. Frankly, like the tool, every time we try to do a tutorial on how to get started hacking without rooting your phone, which we don't really recommend, something changes and breaks, and then we get a bunch of complaints. So it's it's just hard. Like it's just hard. There are some great tools that work. You can install some Python tools. It's just like anything that requires like Wi-Fi networking or anything that requires anything more than just accessing the internet and running some requests is pretty difficult to run on it, or sometimes just not even useful. But for I was able to run Routersploit on my Android phone and it worked pretty fine. But then the tool that I was running it on broke. So. Again, it's just a constantly shifting mess of like what you can do in a emulated terminal on Android, and I'm afraid I don't have a great answer for that. But I do have a great answer for this. Zero Null asked, which by the way is a great name, is there a way to track phones by using Wi-Fi/Bluetooth probes? Absolutely. So because every phone will save every network that you connect it to, you can basically look out for it trying to connect to one of those networks, especially if you've ever connected to a hidden network before. It'll constantly scream out the name of that hidden network forever, like it's a tagged animal with a radio transceiver. Now, the other way you can do this is Bluetooth devices that never change their MAC address. And ironically, police body cameras never do this. So if you wanted to track, for example, like a police officer, and make sure it was the same person because they're using the same body camera, it would be very easy to do so because you're carrying around a Bluetooth device. It screams out the same identifying number and never changes. So like you can even do the sort of thing with cars if they never change their Bluetooth stereo. You could theoretically use this as kind of like an automated license plate scanner style way of tracking where cars go around a city just by looking for their Bluetooth stereo and seeing if the MAC address is never changing. So yes, you can absolutely do this. There's lots of ways to do it. It is a rich field of surveillance and hacking. So there's a lot there if you're curious and want to do some more research.
Okay, so the other question that was next up is kind of in that same thread of the previous one, which is, can we run on Termux?
Termux, yeah, that was one of the things that I tried before, and it was working, and then it stopped working, and then it was working again for a while, and now I have no idea, because I'm just not brave enough to try. So if any of you have tried it out recently, please shout it out in the comments, because I'm just not sure.
Yeah, and I promise I'm going to read more of the comment questions.
No, I've got one right now. Do you guys do hacking jobs as freelancing, or do you just teach? That's a great question. So I mostly teach. I used to do more jobs at like contracting, everything from like finding out where someone was as part of an investigation to like being able to put some of these tools into practice. And this could be anything as exciting as a fraud investigation where some lady like fled to Saudi Arabia and I had to like use a water bottle in her hotel room in a picture she posted to find out what country she was in. To something as boring as when I worked at Uber and they wanted to find a way to locate the email addresses of restaurant owners who were super tech illiterate and like had not put their contact information like in a public place on the internet. So like, you know, some of these jobs were very mundane, some of them were more exciting. I tend to prefer to teach because a lot of people have use cases I've never thought of that are super interesting to learn, and I can learn more about the ways to use these tools I already know pretty well by learning from other people how they're using them. So we do a lot of work with journalists, and we also do, you know, just like various trainings at like conferences and stuff. I think the next training / class we're doing is at the upcoming C3 conference, which is fully online. So if you guys are interested, I'll have some more stuff on Twitter, and also we'll be doing some classes along with Spacehune at the Computer Chaos Congress this year.
Yeah.
So.
Or if you happen to be a Norwegian journalist.
Or if you happen to be a Norwegian journalist.
We will also be providing some classes for those people as well. Okay. So the next question I had is, can I use a rubber ducky to change BIOS settings?
Oh, no, you can't, but that's such a wicked cool idea. No, because it's like a software device where like you have to load like drivers in order for it to work. So unfortunately, no, which kills me. I've tried to do this before and it didn't work. Unless something has changed, I do not think you can change BIOS settings, because like why wouldn't you just make a payload that just like reboots and then like in like a set period of time just presses the key buttons and then like changes the BIOS settings. Brilliant. It's so cool, but no, it doesn't work.
Yeah. Okay. One question, can I transfer scripts using NFC into a card? Like NFC hacking, I think is what they're asking about.
I've done NFC hacking. Wait, what's the question again?
One question, can I put a script using NFC into a card?
Okay, sure. So yes, like NFC hacking is cool. An example that I'll give is I used to work in a building that used NFC cards to get in and out. And my Android phone at the time, I think it was a Samsung Galaxy S whatever, like S6, had a compatible chipset that it could read and write to these cards. So once I brute forced the encryption on the cards, and they all use the same encryption key, I was able to arbitrarily read and write these keys to the building and save them onto stickers, which I would then stick on the case of the phone and just have like infinite keys for different like doors. Yeah. So like NFC hacking is really cool. There's lots of ways you can do it. I don't know about like saving code in it and executing it.
What I understand, like the EMV chip cards and some of those smart chip cards, run, I think they're Java applets or something. There's a DEF CON talk on it. Look it up. I'll link to it in the corner once this is saved to YouTube. But that is something you can look into if you're interested. It's very small amounts of code, but it's basically, it is possible for them to run code.
What state in America has the most cybersecurity jobs? I don't know the statistics, but I'm just going to guess California because that's an easy guess because there's the most people, there's lots of businesses, and there's also lots of tech. And when there's lots of tech, there's also cybersecurity, and there's also lots of government contractors. So I know that my friend who works in Southern California has been approached by like Booz Allen and like other like government contractors just because they operate like out of like Inglewood and like other areas like close to the airport, and they have substantial presences there, and they're always looking for cyber people. So LA is one place,
Yeah.
but I'm sure if you also looked in like DC, Virginia, like other places where there's like substantial government contractors or lots of tech. So even places like Phoenix, Arizona, will probably have like a kind of surprising amount of cybersecurity jobs, like Austin, Texas, because they also are tech hubs where
Yeah.
it's cheap to find highly skilled tech workers. So those are all places you might look.
Well, yeah, I would say that a lot of that work can be done remotely, but if it has to be done locally, then look for where tech jobs are. Do you know anything about hacking electric car charging stations?
No, but it sounds awesome. So sorry, I don't have anything.
The
for you,
only
but I hope
thing
someone
I've
does.
ever heard of is back in the day when Tesla had unlimited charging, people would charge or plug their Teslas in and then plug Bitcoin mining rigs in the trunk of their Teslas running off the car power. And basically they'd be mining Bitcoin off of the power from the charging station.
So we have a question that says, how to hack the, oh my gosh, explain how to hack the Dilf-Hellman protocol. Do I look like a math nerd to you? I'm sorry. No, I kind of sort of know a little bit about that, but not enough to fully do it. Sorry. You're looking for a math hacker. I just break stuff.
Okay, did you see Glitch's hacker van? I low-key want to live in a self-sustainable van now.
Okay, so we have a debate about this in my house. First of all, I love Glitch. He's super cool. We met at when did we DEF CON. We met at DEF CON, and it was really cool to finally like meet another person that creates content on Hack5 aside from Darren. But I'm not sure that I would live in a van, and this is just from having lived at one point in a storage unit, just because like where do you shower? But
Gym
that being
membership,
said,
yeah.
a gym membership, gross. But that being said, there are a substantial number of people in my house. I think it's like 3 out of 5 that like desperately want to live the van life. Michael being one of them.
No, I don't want the van life. I want the tiny home life. Tiny house.
Yeah, it's basically the van life.
But
with the
that has
shower.
a shower.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
bathroom.
Okay, now I'm on board again. Okay,
Yeah.
so like my only issue is the shower and the bathroom. Like aside from that, I
Yeah.
think it's cool. But being highly mobile and having like a command center like does definitely sound
Yeah,
appealing.
but my plan has far more intricacies than you let on.
Sure.
Okay, how long have you guys been hacking for so far?
So I started doing Nullbyte videos or Nullbyte articles like 4 years ago. And prior to that, I had been doing Wi-Fi hacking just as something I was interested in for maybe like 3 or 4 years. So really not that long. And I only have been going to school for it for about 2 years.
Yeah, I would say so. About 5 years ago, I took my first Python programming class, and that was for my current major at university. And then I realized, hey, wait, there's all kinds of cool stuff I can do with this Python stuff. And I did that for a couple of years, and then about 3 years ago, I decided to go to DEF CON. And that's when I would say my hacking career really kicked off.
One question says, have you guys tried Croc used for file sharing using Terminal, not limited to local networks? No, but that sounds cool. I've been using some other, I'm blocking on the name right now, but some other like open source distributed like data project that data scientists use to share like huge data sets for sharing it, but it's really, for sharing files, but it's really annoying to set up, and it's just not as straightforward as some other tools. So I'm very interested.
Okay, here's another question. What is your favorite trick to hack Wi-Fi? I'm going to modify that slightly. You only have one way to hack Wi-Fi. What is it?
If I only had one way to hack Wi-Fi, I would just do phishing. I would just like disable all Wi-Fi networks and then create phishing pages saying the router was updating and just spend a little energy on making it look nice. And I would say most people, unless they're very paranoid, would fall for that. And not knowing the configuration of the router, I'm not going to mess around and assume the Pixie attack is going to work when it may or may not work. I'm not going to mess around and assume that I'll be able to brute force the password. It could be insane. My best bet is to just create a circumstance that makes people think they're supposed to enter the password in basically plain text into my phishing page.
Okay, another question I'm going to modify slightly. Any good site to gather information about email? Or basically, so What's your favorite email OSINT technique?
Maltego and the Harvester I like to use in tandem. I take results from the Harvester and paste them into Maltego, and then I run a transform that allows me to verify them, that like make sure that they actually exist. Because there's a lot. Sometimes there will be junk in the Harvester that just comes in a Google search but isn't a valid email or is no longer a valid email. So that's usually my workflow. It's easy with Maltego to just take a bunch of discovered email addresses and like enrich them further as well. So once I find one that I know is real, I can run a couple transforms on it and find information about where else this email might have been used. And then of course you can also use something like Sherlock to see if just the username part of the email has been registered anywhere else on the internet.
Okay, and to all the people talking about video games, in particular Watch Dogs and Cyberpunk, if you want to see Cody react to hacking in those video games, be sure to tune in to our TikTok channel, Hackbyte, HAKBYTE.
Yes, which is not endorsed by anybody at this moment.
No
not sponsored by
affiliations.
anyone. Not sponsored by
Yes.
Varonis. This is just our goof off account where we're giving China as much as our biographical data as possible. That being said, I don't necessarily endorse TikTok as a platform. I've been using it to do like research into other. Well, also to waste time, but to do research into like ways we can make cybersecurity more interesting. And frankly, TikTok keeps trying to radicalize me. Like I liked one joke about like Irish people not liking the UK, and suddenly I get a bunch of like Irish Republican Army propaganda. It's a little weird. So like
Okay.
I see how
Okay.
TikTok like might not be the best thing for especially like younger people, because the algorithm is very aggressive in terms of trying to like categorize you and like give you stuff that your brain likes. So we do make content there, though, because it's a challenging format and lots of people are creative, but I'm not going to come out there and say that I'm a huge fan of TikTok as a platform.
Okay.
They also took down one of our videos for harassment and bullying, and it was literally just me reading through my DMs and like trying to like interpret what the question was.
Okay, so I was thinking about going to hacker conferences, but basically I can't. So yes, I would strongly recommend going to hacker conferences, such as DEF CON. Even if it's your first time and you have to go alone, I went to DEF CON for the first time alone, and that's what started my hacking career. I was, I kind of steal the term 30 seconds of insane courage, but that's what I feel like you have to do. Like, you have to just have that insane courage to click the book button on an airline ticket and just ship yourself out there. And then once you're there, then you're gonna find someone, you're gonna meet people, you're gonna talk to people. That's the way those things go. If people don't know what DEF CON is, what
DEF CON is a
Describe
hacking
that
security
real quick.
conference you can't go to right now because of the pandemic. But
Yeah.
as soon as it stops, then you should go to Las Vegas and check out DEF CON, because we'll be there.
Yeah. That's the other thing I wanted to touch on. Yeah.
This is not so much a question as a statement. First of all, happy holidays. Second, I wanted to say thank you for your video on Parrot OS. Without it, I would not have gotten my job at the FBI.
Wait, hold up. I only heard FBI.
So that's great. Congratulations on your job at the FBI. I'm so glad you like my tutorials. By the way, if you want to check out another great tutorial, you should check out our ransomware/deleting files tutorial, and maybe try it on like my file or whatever. Like if you just want to like try something out for fun. Like I'm sure they wouldn't be mad because it's just you're learning and it's just for fun.
It's an internal
I am
audit.
also not a lawyer.
Yes.
So anyway, good for you, and please delete my file.
Okay. So I want to use the Pi and change my DNS server to my. Could this protect from DDoS attack or denial of service attacks? So we did do a video on the Pi-hole, which is the Raspberry Pi as a DNS server. However, it's not really about protecting you from like denial of service attacks as much as just like blacklisting and sinkholing malicious domains.
So here's a question. Terran, Protoss, or Zerg?
Wait, what?
Terran, Protoss, or Zerg?
Zerg all the way. Like you gotta Zerg those. That's a star. That's a game thing, right?
What I don't like is I was going to respond the same, and now the fact that he doesn't know anything about StarCraft makes me want to pick a different
Oh
one.
look. Okay, so
But
I played World of Warcraft,
Mhm.
and I know the term Zerging is when we just bum rush the enemy and then overwhelm them with force. So the Zerg must clearly be the most powerful units.
Yeah, no, I have the least experience with Protoss. I'll say that. All right.
Okay. Burp Suite Pro They want to use that for projects, but they can't afford it. Do you have alternatives?
I just don't do enough like web app testing to
Yeah.
really be a good resource on that. Sorry, guys. I need to bring on some people who do bug bounty stuff because we had some friends at Bug Crowd and Thug Crowd that seemed like they would be really good for that. But it's kind of difficult to nail them down because they're really busy.
What else did we have here?
We're also coming up on our time, so I'm trying to scan for like clear questions we can answer rather quickly. But TikTok helps with depression. Yeah, TikTok. I mean, it squeezes neurochemicals out of your brain, but kind of like the same way that Las Vegas does.
Okay, so we are basically out of time, unfortunately.
Yeah, so also thank you guys for keeping the chat lively. These are
Mhm.
always super fun because we get to see some of our favorite people. We've also started chatting with a couple of you guys just on Signal in the background because you are always on our chat. You're contributing a lot and we appreciate it. So yeah, it's really nice that we've managed to meet some new people through this live stream, and it's really cool that we're expanding our hacker community. Again, thank you to our newest community moderator, Zam, for
Yes, indeed.
helping out. I don't know if you had to, ban anyone on this stream, but in the future, if we get any more of those shouting people that are screaming
Yeah.
for something illegal in all caps repeatedly, you'll notice that they disappear without us even touching the
Yeah. Well, I'm just
People-
trying to be preemptive because I realize our channel is growing and we're going to get more and more people, and I want those of you community members that have good questions to be able to float to the top and us to be able to respond to those. So we got to filter out some things sometimes.
Yep. Cool. All right, you guys. Well, there are some questions still trickling in. We'll try to make sure to answer these on our next stream because we are out of time. But also, if you want to run onto the YouTube channel on youtube.com/securityfwd, or of course, you can go to hackingwithfriends.com. You can leave those questions. We will see them and we'll make sure that they are in the running to be answered on the next stream.
Yeah.
I think our next stream that's coming up is going to be on Friday. So
yes,
we'll see you guys
indeed.
then.
And the topic is going to be maybe Evil Limiter.
Oh yeah, Michael wants to. Oh yeah, Evil Limiter. So we might do Evil Limiter. Evil Limiter is a tool where you can start limiting or throttling devices on your network. So if you have a device that's going rogue and taking up too much data, or a person that's gone rogue and is using too much data, then you can use this program to basically throttle the amount of data they can use, or entirely choke them out of the network. It's kind of looking at a denial of service attack from the inside of the network and seeing what you can do in terms of manipulating data rates and changing the way that devices function. It's
Without
super cool.
deauthing them. And also, I believe that Evil Limiter will work over Ethernet as well. So that gives you attack vectors on Ethernet end devices.
Sweet. All right, guys. So that's all we have. You can follow me on Twitter at Cody Kinsey. That's just my full name. And of course, you can follow Michael on Twitter at _Hoid, his full name.
HOID. Yes.
HOID, yes.
Yes.
Or you can follow him on TikTok at
Michael_Raymond69.
Great.
I don't know if there's an underscore before the 69.
A little
I will
confusing.
have to check.
But yeah, very funny because TikTok just gave that to him automatically.
Yeah.
So we'll see you guys next time. Also check out the Verona's brand channel because there's some great content going on there as well. And yeah, see you guys on Friday. Bye.